Hi everyone, Amber from So Majestic here. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. I am so excited to be participating in the spooky sewing marathon. I hope you're enjoying all the videos today. I'm so excited because I am sewing up such a fun bag for you all. This is my first tutorial for a bag pattern that is not my own. So I was able to choose the Hugo handbag from Carbon Chic Designs. So thank you so much, Demi, for allowing me to sew this up. I have loved this bag since I've seen it. There's 3 different add-on packs. So today I am sewing up this cute bat. So this face is part of the Mystical Menagerie add-on. Demi has 3 different add-on packs, and there's currently a sale in her group till October 18th. So I'm going to put all her info for her website, her Facebook group, everything in the description. So thank you again, Demi, for allowing me to sew this up and do a tutorial. I absolutely love it. Let me know what you guys think. I did make 2 changes. The only changes that I made were I added D-rings instead of using like screw-in strap connectors, and instead of using vinyl here, I used webbing. The handle comes out a little bit wider than 1 inch, and I only had 1 inch D-rings. So I made that adjustment, and I made a crossbody bag instead of using the buckle. But everything else is the same. I did the cute little bat face. The back has a zip pocket. Inside has 2 different pockets. It has a slip pocket here and another zip pocket. So for my materials, the whole exterior is just regular promo vinyl, and the interior is a water resistant canvas available in my shop. So I hope you like it. Let me know what you think, and thank you again for allowing me to be a part of the Halloween sewing marathon and for sewing up your pattern. So the pattern comes with SVGs that I use my Cricut to cut out all the pieces, both for the bat face and for the main bag. The instructions are all in metric, but if you're not used to working with metric, you can easily convert it to imperial through Google. And then I also took time to edge coat all the raw edges. I use a Giardini base coat, an Angelus paint, and then Giardini top coat. So before I begin any bag, I like to cut out and prep all my pieces. So for example, you can see here that my Decoville is already applied to the bag. I am using a water resistant canvas available in my shop for the lining, so I didn't have to interface any of the linings. I am doing the cute little bat, so I have cut out the entire face, edge coated it, prepped all the individual pieces as far as pocket, zipper, bottom, and I have my zipper tape, some zipper pulls. I'm using pumpkins that are available in my shop, and strap hardware that is also available in my shop. And I have purchased this little pack of Chicago screws that I will be using instead of rivets. And the only thing I don't have pictured is purse feet, which are also available in my shop, that I am going to add to the bag. Okay, I'm editing this segment in here because I'm talking about the supplies I'm using. And originally I had cut out the vinyl as indicated in the pattern, not thinking that when it's folded it's still going to be too wide for my 1 inch D-ring. So I'm going to make an adaptation and use webbing for my handle. So I'm putting this, editing it in here, so that way if you want to make the same change, or here in the United States, when I converted it, I didn't think about that this would be a little bit larger than an inch, and all I have are 1 inch D-rings. So when I get to that part, I'll show you how I am going to adapt using D-rings instead of the screw-in connectors. So before I begin sewing any other parts of the bag, I am appliquing on all the pieces. So for example, here's the bat wings. Every single face comes with its own PDF file and SVG files, and you can use the template to line up all the pieces exactly. So there I'm doing the eyes, the nose, and the teeth, and I am saving the ears for later on. And here I am using rivets for the eyes. So I have completely finished appliquing all the facial features for the bat. In the instructions, Demi says not to put the ears on, not to attach them until you do piping. But because I'm sewing on domestic, I am not adding piping, so I added them here. So now I'm going to begin building my pockets. So this is one of my pocket lining pieces. I'm using a water resistant canvas, and I have a piece of vinyl folded in half. The instructions do say to use double-sided tape to stick it together, but I have sewed like at a 1/8 inch line across just to hold it, so my needle is not going through all the double-sided tape. So we are going to fold this in half, and we are going to sew across the top at the given seam allowance, and then down only one edge. And we are not catching this edge of the piping or faux piping in that seam allowance. So now that I have sewed the edges, I am turning this right side out. So that took a little bit of time to turn properly. But now we are going to tuck our raw edges in, lining them up with that edge of the faux piping. So I'm going to manipulate this a little bit more to really like straighten it and make sure I'm happy with it. But then once I do that, I am taking one of my main lining panel pieces, and I am going to center this and sew along all 3 edges, catching this seam and sealing this. And then you can measure if you want and divide the pocket in whatever manner you feel is best. Okay, so now that I have made the pocket, attached it, I added some rivets to one of my interior lining pieces. I'm going to set this aside because we are now working on our exterior zipper pocket. So I am going to take a minute and prep this by folding this line. If you look from the back, I'm going to fold it and use some double-sided tape to completely open this, because we are going to be prepping this interior pocket panel or pocket lining. So what I'm going to do with this is I am going to baste the zipper to the bottom, and I want my zipper opening left to right. So I'm going to make sure that I align that correctly You could also use double-sided tape. I tried to use as little double-sided tape as possible because it will gum up my needle. And I'm also going to make sure that I move my zipper pull out of the way as I do this. Okay, so now I have my prepped back panel, and you can see my double-sided tape's not holding it perfect, but that's okay. I can help it in place. I am going to take my zipper pocket lining panel, and I am going to make sure it's facing up. That's really important. And I'm going to center my main back panel over the zipper. And you could put like double-sided tape on the zipper to help you. I just kind of eyeball it and like hold it in place as I sew. So you want to make sure that your zipper pull is definitely in between. And the reason why we are making sure that our zipper lining is facing up is because we are going to stitch a line across this bottom here, and we are going to attach the panel. And I am not going to back stitch. I am going to make sure that I tie off my ends to the back, and we are only sewing across the bottom. And if your pocket is not facing up, you will sew your pocket closed. So I'm going to take some time and play around with this and sew my first line across at my top stitch length. Okay, so now you can see I have my stitch line on the bottom, pulled back to the back side, tied off. So I'm going to take my lining and align it with the top of my zipper. And I always cut my zippers a little bit longer just to give myself some leeway, and so the edges don't fray right on the side of the pocket. But you could use double-sided tape and tape this, but I am going to clip it and baste stitch it first just to hold it in place. Like I said, I try to avoid double-sided tape as much as possible. And then so I'm going to baste that, and then once I have it basted, I'm going to do the same exact thing here, but now I'm going to fold all my edges back and line everything up like this. Like, take my time, make sure the zipper's centered. And I am going to start here, so down the short side, along the top, and then back down this other remaining short side. And that will completely attach your zipper to the pocket. So I'm going to do both those things now. So you can see here I've now finished all three sides that were left. Some of my stitches are a little bit close together, and that was definitely from the double-sided tape making my needles sticky. I probably should have used like an alcohol wipe, but this bag's for me, so I'm not concerned about it. So now all we have left is to sew up our sides. So they are sealed on the edges here. But what I like to do, I always leave my zipper longer for this reason. So I like to sew from the front and sew up the sides, including the zipper tape, to then give that extra stitch for extra strength. And then once I'm done, I'll snip my zipper tape and heat seal it. So I'm going to sew up on both sides, moving my panel out of the way, like exterior panel, to seal up this zipper. And to make sure you did it correctly, you can always like open it up, stick your hand inside, make sure that you didn't reverse anything and accidentally seal up your pocket. Now I am going to complete our internal zipper pocket. So I have my other lining, interior lining, and I have placed my last pocket lining on top of it, right sides together. And I have used the template piece, pattern piece number 1, to line up my pocket lining and draw this box. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sew along the outside of the rectangle, and then I'm going to take scissors and cut along the center and cut to each of the points of the boxes without cutting my stitch line. And that's going to allow us to flip this pocket lining through. So you can see that I've cut my middle slit and the triangles to the corners as close as I can without cutting into my stitch line. So now I'm going to pull my pocket lining through. And once you have it through, if you are using a material that can be ironed, I suggest pressing it to get nice clean lines. I'm using a water resistant canvas, which I do not personally don't like to iron. So I'm just going to press it as best as I can with my fingers. So you can see this is what it looks like from the front. From the back, it has our lining pocket. So now what we are going to do is take another one of our shorter zippers, and again I always cut it longer than needed so I can trim the edges after, and we are going to place it behind. And in the pattern it suggests using double-sided tape. I personally just hold it in place. So you can use double-sided tape and place it behind, and we are going to top stitch around the box completely, and that will hold our zipper in place. And when you're doing that, you want to make sure that your zipper pull is not off behind. You want to make sure it's to the front and move it out of the way as you are going. So I am going to do that now. And I'm also going to use a regular like top stitch length. Alright, so now that I have top stitched around my box holding my zipper in place, I'm going to flip to the back side and line up, like fold and line up the pocket pieces. And I just like to align my top part first. And then align the sides. And we are going to close up our pocket. So I'm actually gonna start at the bottom here, folding my interior main lining out of the way, and I'm going to sew up the side of the pocket, pivot, sew along the top, and then pivot again and close up my last side. So our interior zipper pocket will be completely sealed. Now that I have my pocket sewn together, this is where I now will come in and cut off my excess zipper. And again, just you want to definitely open your pocket, make sure that it is a functioning pocket before you get too far in and cannot fix it if you've made a mistake. And I'm gonna set this aside because now we are gonna work on our main zipper panel. Now I'm going to assemble our main zipper panels. So I have cut my zipper again slightly longer than the pattern pieces, just to have that extra material to work with. So I am going to start with the smaller side first. And I did not put my pulls on yet because I just want to make it quicker. So you can use double-sided tape on both the back side and the front side zipper edges to hold this in place and sew both the lining and the exterior piece at the same time. My preference is I like to clip my zipper tape and baste stitch it on first. So that is what I'm going to do. So I have it clipped. I'm going to baste stitch along the edge to hold the zipper on. And then right now I have the lining right sides facing up, my zipper sitting on top of it with the teeth up. And then after I baste it, I am going to put my exterior piece right sides facing down. And I'm going to sew at my given seam allowance along that same edge that I had just basted for only the lining. Now that I have stitched my exterior zipper panel piece on, I am going to fold them both back so they are wrong sides together. Now in the pattern it states to keep the lining folded out of the way and top stitch only through the exterior and the seam allowance. But my personal preference is I also top stitch through the lining. So that is what I'm going to do for this bag. But you can do whatever you think works best for you and your machine. So I'm going to take a second and really manipulate this, pull it, make sure that it is folded as best as I can. And you may have noticed that when I was sewing, I had switched out to a zipper foot to when I was attaching the exterior piece. And now I have switched to a Teflon foot, which is going to make it glide over the exterior vinyl, much easier. So if you have trouble, I highly recommend a Teflon foot or parchment paper on top of this that you could then tear off. It will help with your stitching. Okay, so I just top stitched this side of my zipper panel. So now I'm going to repeat the same exact process to attach the other exterior and lining side. Okay, so I have finished top stitching both sides of my zipper panel. So I am now going to add my zipper pulls. And how I do that is I just pull apart my zipper tape. And because I'm right-handed, I always start on the right-hand side. And I insert just like 1 or 2 teeth into the right. And then insert the left. And just kind of tap with my finger, and usually it aligns pretty good. And then in order to make that a double zipper, I'm going to insert my second zipper on the opposite side. So if you're using only one zipper, you want to definitely pay attention to which side you are inserting your zipper pull, so that way you can see which way the bag is opening. But for a double zipper, that doesn't matter because you now have two. All right, so now I'm going to set this aside for a moment so I can work on the handles. So now I'm at the step where I am adding my handle, which I am adapting and using webbing and D-rings. So I have used my pattern piece and marked out the 4 spots where our little tabs are going to go. And it's super faint, but I've also drawn a chalk line to line up where my handle is going to be. And in order to adapt this, so for the regular way with the handle, we would line up the edges, like the edges of the handle to the edges of the zipper placket, and just sew a big box because we would be using the screw-in connectors. Because I'm using a D-ring, I am going to adapt it, and you can see I drew 3 chalk lines on each side. This is where I'm going to stop on one of my boxes so the handle can come up. But I'm going to slip my D-ring on, and when I bring this to the machine, I am going to start at the edge, sew up, come around, and create my box here. And then the D-ring will sit in the middle. And then I'm going to continue that exact thing between these next 2 lines. I'm going to create another box here. And then that will have my D-ring secured in the middle. And then my handle will be able to pop up. And I'm going to repeat that for this the other side, the same exact way. I have my 3 lines drawn, and I'm going to put the boxes as well. So I'm going to take it to the machine. I think I'm going to put some double-sided tape on the back side to hold this down, and so it doesn't shift and become crooked. Okay, so I'm at the machine, and I'm going to sew one of the sides without a time lapse so you can see. And the other thing that I forgot to mention was setting up. I have folded my lining out of the way on the side that we're sewing. You do not want to sew through the lining because those stitches will show on the inside of your bag. So make sure that you move that out of the way. Okay, so again, I'm going to start on this side here, and I'm using a regular top stitching length. And I'm taking my time making sure that I am pivoting this okay, so now my threads blended really well, but I have this box stitched. So I'm going to move my D-ring as far this way to give myself space and do the next box here. Cut those strings to get them out of the way. And I'm actually starting a little tiny bit before this line, just because my presser foot with the way the D-ring is. made sure I backstitched really well because that is gonna pull against the D-ring. I'm still debating if I might either put Chicago screws here or one of the tab over the stitch line. I'm not quite sure yet. So this side is now secure, so I'm going to repeat for the other side. Okay, so now I'm adding my tabs. I have punched holes in them just using my hand press, and I'm going to put Chicago screws. I just got them off Amazon, so I have already put one Chicago screw through and backed it with a piece of Decoville light just to keep it a little bit more secure. So I have the holes marked already from the pattern piece. So I'm going to punch them out. And again, I have my lining folded back, so it is not, you're not going to see any of this. So I am going to put the Chicago screw through to the back side. And I already have some Decoville light here, just from the stabilizer, but you can see that there is kind of like a gap. It's kind of high. So I keep all my scraps all the time. So this is a waterproof canvas, and I am just going to fold this in half. Hole punch it and use this as even more support. So anytime that I am adding Chicago screws, rivets, snaps, magnetic snaps, I always back it with something that is a little bit more sturdy. And I probably could have cut this hole a tiny bit bigger, but that's okay. I'd rather have it tight than slip off. And then it comes with an actual screw, and I have a mini magnetic screwdriver that I got at like a computer store. So it works great. And then I'm just going to screw that on the back side. And you can see what it looks like on the front, and I'm going to repeat that same process for the opposite side, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay, so I have finished with my zipper panel. So now, in order to complete the gusset, we have to attach the bottom, but I need to attach my purse feet first. So I have my 4 marks. I used the pattern piece. I've already punched a hole in one. And so I'm using screw in purse feet. So I'm going to, again, use a piece of the folded waterproof canvas just to give another buffer. I'm going to put my screw through the bottom panel. And I like to just use my hands to catch the threads and get it started. I just dropped it, so we'll try another one. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky to catch the threads, especially on this particular. These were samples from my supplier. I have different ones that are more flat. And so then I take my screwdriver as I'm holding the other side with my left hand and just completely tighten it. So there's one purse foot, And then I am going to do that for the other 4 or other 3. Alright, so I just finished adding all the purse feet. You can put some tape over these to protect the screw from coming through the lining. So this is what it looks like for the bottom. So now we are going to attach our zipper to our bottom. You can, I make sure you fold this back, and before doing this you can base stitch or glue your lining down so it's not separated, but I'm going to do that after I attach the bottom. So how we attach it is we are taking our lining bottom piece right side up, placing one end of the shorter side of our zipper piece, lining it up, and you can baste stitch across and hold that in place if you want, or put some double-sided tape, because then we are going to take our bottom piece and line it up. So our 2 pieces of vinyl, our bottom should be right sides together with the zipper. Okay, and I'm going to take it to the machine and sew across at my given seam allowance, and then I'm going to flip it around and line it up and do the exact same thing for the other side like this. And this one might be a little bit funky because obviously one's longer than the other, but you're going to do the same exact thing for this side. Now that I have sewn both edges, I am going to flip it around so my bottom exterior is touching the bottom interior, and it should line up perfect. And now I'm just going to clip each edge because I am going to top stitch across here on the bottom side. You could probably even put a rivet too if you wanted, but I'm going to top stitch it on each side, and then I'm going to base stitch all the way around, so both my top and the bottom has the lining basted to it. Okay, so now we are going to attach our linings to our exterior pieces. So our interior zipper pocket is going to be matched up with our back exterior piece that also has the zipper. So I'm going to clip these all the way around off camera, make sure everything is lined up. And then the same thing for our front exterior with the face. That one is going to have the slip pocket on behind it. So you are going to clip them together and then baste them, being mindful that if you have ears as you're basting, you want to move your ears out of the way so you do not sew over them. Also, before this step, if you are adding piping, you would add your piping now and then attach the ears. But because I'm not adding piping, I already have attached the ears and I'm just basting my linings. Okay, so now I have basted on my linings to my exterior pieces. It is time to attach our gusset. So you are going to flip your zipper so your lining is facing out. And you should, if you didn't mark your centers, you definitely want to mark your centers of all 4 centers like this on your gusset and on your exterior panels. So once you do that and it's flipped inside out, you can see my center mark here. I am taking the wider part that has the handle and attaching it to the exterior back. And I my clipped little thing. So I am going to clip it in place here. And then I'm going to line up my bottom piece. And now once I have those clipped, I am going to clip all the rest of the way around, easing it around the corners. And when I get to the corners, I'm actually going to cut little snips into the gusset portion, not only like maybe 1/4 of an inch, not that far. That will help it go around the corners, and you don't want to cut into your stitch length. So I'm gonna do that right now, attach it all together. Okay, so I took my time and I have clipped all the way around. This is also where in the pattern she recommends that you can hand baste, that you can use staples. Because I put the little snips into the gusset, it lines up perfectly. So I'm gonna live dangerously and not hand baste it or staple, and I'm going to take it to my machine and I'm gonna sew with the gusset up, and I'm gonna fold it down as I slowly stitch around. And you'll see I'll probably use my stiletto to help go around the corners. So I have now attached the panel, and I think I have caught all the edges well, but one way I check that is I flip it so the exterior is facing right side out. And this is how you can also check to make sure that your stitching looks good, that you have no like creases or wrinkles. And I think it looks pretty good. I'm really happy with it. And then I can pop it out better when we're done with all the binding. But I don't see any stitches showing. I'm not sure if that's a piece of lining sticking through, and I'll double check that from the back side. So I'm pretty happy with it. As I was going around, I had to be very careful because you are sewing fairly close to the Chicago screws. So you definitely just want to be mindful of that. So now you're going to repeat the same exact process for the face side. But before you do that, there's one very important thing. You want to open your zipper because we're going to have to turn the bag eventually. So definitely open up your zipper, and you are going to repeat the same exact process, matching up your centers, clipping it all the way around, and then sewing with the gusset side up. And this is where you want to make sure that you clip your ears inside so they do not get caught. So be very mindful of that. So we're going to repeat that same exact step that we just did. Okay, so I have just finished sewing my second exterior side, the side with the face on, and now we are going to bind it. Normally I prefer to use double fold bias tape, but for the pattern she recommends fold over elastic, which I do have, but is not quite as wide as recommended, but I'm still gonna give it a try. So she has you sew it's the ends together, and then you are going to clip this all the way around your bag. So I'm a little bit worried about catching the front and the back at the same time. If you do not have fold over elastic, you could cut 1 inch waterproof canvas or a little bit wider and use that, or the double fold bias tape. But I'm gonna give this a try because I only have to sew it once. If it doesn't cover everything or goes bad, I'll take it off and just go back to my double fold bias tape. But I like this idea, so I'm gonna try it. So I'm gonna continue clipping all the way around, and then I'm going to take it to my machine, and the same exact way that we attached our exterior panels, we are going to sew around. Okay, so I have clipped my fold over elastic all the way around, and I'm at my machine, and I am going to sew it in the same exact manner that I attached the exterior pieces. So make sure on the side with your ears, you are folding them out of the way. And I am going to hopefully catch both sides of the fold over elastic. And I'm using a top stitch length for this. And I'm also going to use my stiletto as I go around. Okay, so I just top stitched my fold over elastic, and I seem to have caught it on all sides. So I'm pretty happy with it. The fact that it stretches, there's not really any wrinkles, so I think it looks great. So I'm gonna cut my other piece and then do this other side the same exact way. All right, so I have just sewn the fold over elastic on the other side. So both sides are now bound, and now we can turn our bag right side out. And it opens pretty wide, so it's not as difficult, even though I have the Decoville light on there. The wide zipper makes it much easier than some other bags I've had to turn. And if you have difficulty, you could always use like a blow dryer to help warm up the vinyl to help it turn. And you want to take your time going along where the binding is, really just pushing out all your edges. All right, I think he looks awesome. I'm so excited how this looks right now. The inside looks great. Now, the last thing I need to do, hold it up, make sure, is I'm going to make a crossbody strap. So I am going to do my strap a little bit differently than in the pattern because I do not have the buckle that is recommended. I am going to make a standard crossbody with the 2 snap hooks, and I'm going to use this slider that has the center is welded so it doesn't adjust, and I find that holds seatbelt webbing a little bit better. So I am going to use webbing to make a crossbody strap. I cut my webbing to 60 inches. So our first step is to attach our adjustable slider. So I'm going to go up one side, down the other, and I'm going to fold my end under. You could leave the raw edge if you wanted or put a strap end. I'm just going to fold mine under. And then I'm going to stitch a line right here as close to the slider as possible. Okay, and you can sew a second line if you want. I think my one is fine. This one's just for me. So, and I'm trimming, but you could also burn the ends of your thread as close as you can get. So you could also put a rivet here to hold it. So now I'm going to straighten this out all the way down to the other end, and I'm going to add one of my snap hooks, and I want it facing down, because now with that facing down towards my sewing table, I'm going to take the other end, go up through my slider and down the other side. And if I pull this all the way through, you will see that our slider or our snap hook is there. So now I'm going to go back to my other end, making sure that I have the right side up. I am going to add my snap hook, and I'm doing it facing up because I'm going to fold this edge back once and then one more time. So it looks like this. And again, you could do a rivet if you want, or you could sew, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a stitch line across. And you definitely could add a second row of stitching if you need to change out to a zipper foot to get as close to this bar as possible. So that's how I do my crossbody straps with webbing. All right, we finished. I'm so excited, and thank you again, Demi from Carbon Chic, for allowing me to sew up your amazing pattern. I think my next one is going to be the dragon. So if any of you are following along and sewing this, definitely let me know in the comments if you made the bat or if you did a different face or adapted it. I would love to see. Make sure you join Demi's Facebook group, post your bags there. If you'd like to join my Facebook group and let me know that you followed along with the tutorial, I'd love to see them as well. So thank you again, and I hope you follow my channel, and I'll be on next week sewing up another pattern for our spooky sewing marathon. Thanks everyone.